Hello, this is Lucy McCall of Alla Mesa Miracles. This is As Above, So Below, July 5th through the 12th, 2024. And this week we're having the new moon. That is today, actually, at I think it's 4:57. Is it? Yes, 4:57 Mountain Standard Time, and in the afternoon. So we're coming up on it. And this new moon is at Ardra and Purnavasu, which is right between Betelgeuse and Castor and Pollux. So what that does is that what we had last time with the moon, we had Ardra real strong. That brings in a lot of rain and water, and it was squaring Neptune, so that's why it happened. But now we have it just kind of right on the edge. So I'm thinking there's still going to be a lot of water, that this is a honest to God monsoon season, which is really sporadic anymore. um, and it's on time because of, usually it used to be that it always started around the solstice. And then we've had all this up and down weather stuff. But so we've had it on time, and um, so I think that's part of the deal. The other thing is with the Purnavasu, or the Castor and Pollux, that moon is a time of study. It is a Devic moon. It is a very spiritual moon, but it is a time for study, for people to go within and look. So even though it's summertime and people are getting out, it's also a very inward time because there's a good amount of Cancer still in the sky. Just Sun and Venus, actually, at this point. And it's all, most everything's going to be going into Leo within a week, and then after, a little after the week, then Sun will go into Leo. But anyway, here we are in the time of Cancer, so it's a very good time to pick your cherries. And I should probably actually talk about cherries too, but it is also just a great time to pick whatever is happening, because we're kind of at the beginning of harvest for a lot of us. Some of us are having things slow, so not everyone. But yeah, some people are getting the greens and things like that. And depending on how early they manage to get it going, they're having their gardens. So we're also having today, with that new moon, it is also sextiling Mars and Saturn, or Saturn is sextiling it, and then Mars, okay, Mars is sextiling it from Taurus, and then Saturn sextiles Mars, and then Saturn trines the new moon. Okay, there we go. So Mars Saturn in good aspect like that brings about um, a, a real strength to get a lot of projects done, a lot of work done. So that's the positive side of Mars Saturn, and we're just hoping that that goes well in the world of wars, because if it was squared, there's a tendency for people to bomb more and do horrible things. But with a sextile, it's more like just get your place together, get your work done, do everything to your gardens and your farms and your land and your business and all that stuff, your house. And it's very focused on Cancer, which is the house, the home, and also it's focused on Cancer being also kind of a psychological house. It kind of rules the family psychology, like your relationship to your parents and who you are because of you and your parents and that kind of thing. So there's a lot of that going on, and perhaps this month people have been crying to their therapist more about how they're hung up because of whatever thing. But anyway, hopefully that is a healing. Okay, so we also have Venus square Chiron. Um, this is where I'm concerned about women's rights with their healing, and women's rights as teachers and mentors, also getting everything they need. But it also is mainly a concern because there's just so much going on in this country about women's health right now. And there needs to be more going on with that. And apparently, there's not even that much compared to what, I guess I've just heard this, but I don't really know. I've just heard there's not as much research about women's health as there is men's health. So if that's the case, that should change because women too are complicated. Okay, so now Saturday we still have Purnavasu. We have it also going into Pusha, which is also a Celis. So tomorrow is really a sacred day. It's a very positive day of just good Devic energy and people generally being pretty nice to each other. I'm hoping that means people will be generous. I know that most people who are doing craft fairs, there's a lot of fairs going on everywhere because this is a long weekend, and farmers markets, that people are generous and you know, help everyone and think about it may be far away from anybody's birthday that you know, or Christmas and those things, but it might be a good time to start stocking up on gifts for your family and friends and get it local at the craft fairs this weekend. So do be generous about that, and what goes around comes around. So, and then we have on Sunday, this is Pusha mostly going into a Shlesha. Shlesha will be there most of the day, which is Sarpo, the snake. It is a little edgy, that one, though the aspects are pretty good. Moon conjunct Mercury. The moon is opposing Pluto. Actually, that's not so easy. That's a little bit like having to face your demons and subconscious, what have you. But anyway, we got to do that occasionally. Just take a good look at it, and then if you take a good look at it, you don't have to stay there too long. So, but otherwise, it is a day of depth and understanding things deeply. So that is a good thing about the Sarpo and or Ashlesha. We still have Ashlesha going into the next day, but mostly that day will be a Maga day, which that sounds funny. What is a Maga day? But that is actually a Hindu word for Regulus, the biggest star in the sky. And I'll bring this up again, golly. It was very unusual, that eclipse we had in 2017 where the moon was at Regulus. The eclipse was at Regulus, that is. It was a new moon eclipse. And it was very strange because that's really when all that Maga stuff was coming up. And for it to be called in Hindu Maga, and the moon be going across, and the eclipse going across our nation that way, was really suspect. And it was also going across the nation in the most Republican states. So how bizarre, how bizarre. And we're still dealing with that energy, but eclipse energy sticks around, particularly when it goes over your nation. So we're still kind of dealing with that, and maybe we'll hear some odd news that day. What day was that? That was Tuesday, which is also a Martian day. But also what's happening is that moon is in conjunction or quincunx to Neptune and Pluto, or Neptune are sextiling, which they have been sextiling since the early 1900s. So this is a really long transit, which Neptune and Pluto tend to do in all their retrograde motion. They just hang in there quite a while with each other. That's a positive aspect, that Neptune Pluto sextile. But the moon now coming into a place where it's in a quincunx and it's at Ashlesha makes me wonder again a lot about the just what our country's going to do. I'm sorry, it's not at Ashlesha, it's at Maga Regulus, and it just makes me wonder, because what the in conjunction does, what the quincunx can do a lot, is bring about a sense of destiny and that kind of thing. So I'm just hoping for the best. It also, though, can make people more interested in serving each other. That hand of God, that Yod, the double quincunx, is very much about service to others. So let's just hope that's what's coming out of it, that group of people will think that way about everyone. Okay, so Wednesday is when the moon is close to Purva Palguni, And this is rather a good day. Those two, there's Purva Palguni, then there's Uttara Palguni. They're both in the signs of Virgo, moving into Libra, Western, and they are relationship signs. It's a good time usually to have commitments in relationships and have romantic stuff. Now, the next one on Thursday is even more that way because we're having a Venus trine Neptune. And that only happens twice a year, more or less, depending on Venus retrograde, but generally 2 times a year we have that. And it brings about, and we're already feeling it hopefully, a lot of compassion and love and just a lot of consideration for each other, a lot more selfless love, a lot more thinking of all the other people in the world and what's up with them. So I'm hoping that this is a very, very good day for relationships on Thursday. And it is a trine, so if it is fanciful, usually Venus Neptune is fanciful and romantic and such, but since it's trine, it hopefully is for real and not just another odd fantasy thing. Something really good is happening for people that way. Now, Friday, we have the moon close to Hasta, or Corvus the crow. It's another day of wisdom. It's also a good day of service. On this day, Venus opposes Pluto. Now, this is going to be interesting having it follow right after the Venus trine Neptune. It's almost like if you were about ready to go into some fantasy that was unrealistic and get you in trouble down the road, like a committed marriage when you really shouldn't have one or something like that, or something needs to be cleared. This is very good for clearing. The Venus opposed Pluto is very good for clearing in relationships and helping people be more realistic about what is going on with their love. So this is very much an important week for romance, but not just romance, relationship. But the fun part of relationship is very much part of the deal. So here we go. This is what the week looks like, more or less, in the way that I write it down. So you can see that we're still dealing with a bowl that is beginning to get a little bit of a side to it because things are moving into Leo and then on around. And that's why we have had no retrograde planets for quite a while, but of course that's changed. There's now 3 retrogrades: Saturn, Pluto, and Neptune. So here we are. That's this week. Okay. Here we are. This is Motherwort, Leonaris cardica. And, she's got such an interesting name. I love it when the ancients pull up the great names because she is very much a Leo plant. And then cardica is that she is for the heart as well. So she is, looks like she could use a little water, but it's just that time of day also. This plant is one of the best heart calming plants that there are. And there seems to be just a lot of it everywhere these days. It seems to be one of the more common things that herbalists are growing right away in their herbalism. And it seems to be just popping up everywhere in a way that it never did in my past anyway, around here in New Mexico. However, when I first learned about it was in Vermont, and that was, 50 something years ago, and the pioneers had put it out and had wandered around. It had spread from its garden, so it had been brought from Europe a long time ago. And this plant, I think one of the reasons it's decided to live so prolifically in our world right now is that one of the things that's going on with us is our extreme electrical life and also our screen life. And I have a feeling, I haven't done much research about it, but all of that is very edgy. It makes us edgy. And that's why it's important to turn it all off at night and go to a room where it's not going on. In very dark, nice dark room to sleep in. no light. But this plant is very good for the heart, and the part where it is, the heart is works partly on electricity. And I think this just calms that part of it so that we're just not so stressed out. She's definitely for stress. A lot of people like to mix her with hawthorn because of it, because hawthorn also relaxes the heart. But I really think that's one of the reasons she's around so much, is because we are so anxious. And she is a Leo plant in a lot of ways in that she flowers in Leo. But here we are in Cancer and she's already flowering. And I just think she's excited about spreading her seed as far and wide as possible. When I first learned about it, I learned about her as a plant that helped anxious women when they were pregnant at the end of their pregnancy. So, sort of like preeclampsia, high blood pressure kind of thing, can help that calm a woman who's having high blood pressure. Also, the anxiety after the postpartum time in childbirth was also a very excellent time to take it, because a lot of women felt very anxious about, having a new baby, and just a lot of things that come with having a baby. So she's just a very important plant that way. She is a bitter. And one of the things I do is I do make a flower essence with her that is also very good, especially good for women who need to connect more with their child. Maybe they had the child at the hospital and the baby got separated from the mother. There's a lot of anxiety when that happens. So a flower remedy for that kind of scenario, where a woman is separated from her baby for a minute or for a few days or something, or has to keep driving over there every day to breastfeed, and it's hard when women have to go through that, but it does happen. And it's also just generally good for anybody with high blood pressure. To some degree, it helps bring it down and relax a person. So that's mainly what I know about her. She tends to bitter up a tea. You can be making a nice mint lemon balm tea and add a little motherwort, and like, oh, there's a bit of bitter in there. But you know how it is. United States people or Turtle Island people, we tend to be a little not wanting the bitter. But bitter is good for us, especially since we eat way too much sugar. So thank you, everyone, and have a great week. Okay, and to add a little bit to it, I forgot to say how good it is for menopause. In fact, it was a tincture that some women, that was the only thing they used for menopause, was motherwort, and it just helped them immensely. And like Flora was just pointing out, it does have a little pokiness to it. It will, now is the best time to actually gather it, because it won't poke you as much because it's just flowers. But those flowers all become these little sharp thorn seed pods, and that kind of represents the energy of how women might feel when they're just overwhelmed, and they might get real snappy, kind of snake-like, and so it's kind of represents that bite that we might have, and it helps heal that bite so that we're just a little bit more chill. And so anyway, and yeah, so she's pink flowers with a little thorn. What a surprise. But remember, roses are like that too. And like I say about rose, just like love, really sweet and lovely, and then there's a thorn. So, okay, thank you again.